he has definitely put some time on the trail. Look at this, it's taking some battle damage. Might be the fact that he doesn't have nuts on the back of his lower arms. This bolt's not tight. Neither side, no nut. This isn't tight either. What's up, Lite Brite Nation?
What's up, Lite Brite Nation?
God, I love Northridge. They deliver so quick. We're only gone for a couple of days and everything's here.
We're back.
So we got this JL here and it's here. So let's get this thing rolled in and see what we got.
What's up, Lite Brite Nation?
This is Ryder and Illica, and that's Bebop the Jeep. Today we're gonna, well, in the next couple of days, we're gonna make that Jeep not so little anymore. And we'll show you why. So Bebop the Jeep decided to go with a rock crawler Ultimate Adventure Series. This is pretty much the same kit that we put on Abby's, but this is the complete kit. We just did the upgraded arms on Abby's. So this has everything. New rear track bar, track bar mount for the rear, new sway bar links, front upper and lower, rear upper and lower, 3.5-inch springs, and these bad boy are back. These guys right here, the new Bilstein B8 80. They're not new, but the B8 8100s, these things are beefy. These things are sick. This is about as good as you're gonna get on a shock setup before you go coilovers. These things are massive. I don't think you're breaking these. I don't even think Kevin can break these. Maybe, I don't know. And the Apex steering booster for the electric steering. It is a must if you're gonna run anything over like a 35 series tire, like if you're gonna run 37. So we're putting 37s on this. They should be here by the end of the week. Hopefully they make it in time. We found them at Northridge. Crazy. They ended up getting some in stock, so we immediately said, purchase. So they should be here by Friday. So this thing will be on 37s. It's gonna be sick. I'm sure you guys remember that I just did a frame chop on the stepchild. Well, one of my concerns was, how are we gonna do one on a diesel? And let me show you. So the problem I'm gonna run into on the diesel is, this is the radiator, that is the intercooler, that is the AC condenser. So even if I move the AC condenser up, I have to shorten up the intercooler. I don't know if that's gonna be a good idea. I might be able to make a more efficient one, make it a little bit fatter and make a bar style, which this is a bar style. This is a really good intercooler style, but I'm gonna have to take this up and the condenser up to get all of the goodies all the way up under here to the radiator. So that's something I'm gonna have to look into. And I'll have an update for you diesel guys soon. There's also a couple of parts that are not here yet that I did not get from Northridge, which is probably why they're not here yet. I have drive shafts on their way from JE Reel, only the best. And what else is on the way? I'm not sure what else is on the way. Oh, tires, but they're coming from Northridge. We bought those last night, so they should be here in like 2 days, which is amazing. I already got shipping confirmation. Go figure. Northridge, on top of things. Dope. Oh, American Adventure Lab Slim Lights. So the Slim Lights are gonna go right here, which means I can gut these fenders, which is my favorite mod. I think they look so sick when you gut the inner fenders out of these things and you just leave the top shells. Awesome. So we're gonna do that too. But right now, we're just gonna get this thing completely torn apart in like 15 minutes or maybe 5 seconds, because that's how long it takes on video. One more thing I wanted to point out on Ryder's Jeep is he was very smart, and his very first mod on this diesel, very first mod besides, I think, the addition of like the winch, was, that's right, Next Venture Motorsports skids. And as you can see, he has already used these. So he has definitely put some time on the trail, and it is still in great condition. Shout out to Next Venture Motorsports for making killer skid plates. I just got to finish putting that one in there. So Ryder told me when he pulled in, he said, when it's up in the air, we need to check the rear end for a noise that it makes. And it makes a noise when it goes from forward to reverse. Might be the fact that he doesn't have nuts on the back of his lower arms, both sides. So this one's not in. This bolt's not tight. Neither side. No nut, Ryder. I don't know what you did there, bud. This isn't tight either. So we're gonna knock all that off and do it the right way. how long did that take?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah, it was like 5 seconds. It's all off, no arms, no shocks, no springs, no track bar. That's all we have to do. You have to take these guys loose. So actually, I think we replaced these, but yes, pull these loose so that you can get it down far enough. And now we just go in reverse order. So one of the things you got to do when you do the Adventure Series lift is you have to swap these, which are your e-brake cables, under this bar. So you have to take this bolt out. You got to pull these things out of this bracket and these hooks out of those guys right there. And that's kind of difficult. But all you have to do is smush these little tabs right here back over, and then it comes out. But I can't do it with one hand. Now I just got to push that one, and if you push it with a screwdriver, it just pops out. So then that guy just boop, pops right out of there. Now you can route them up over that guy. Now you can route them over this cross member, and then plug them back in.
And like that, the rear is done.
So we got the back dialed in and put back on. Now we're just gonna move to the front. We're just gonna lose all 4 control arms, lose the shocks, and get ready to put it back together with all the new rock crawler stuff. All right, guys, so if you have a diesel, this is the hardest one to get out. Look at this bolt. It's shoved up against, it's technically in line with this little elbow. So what you have to do is you have to take this side off and tweak it all the way over here as far as you can, and then swiggle that guy over the exhaust. Here, pull this one, push this way, and then you can just barely get it. You really gotta reef it in there. But it will clear, I promise. It's a pain in the butt. It goes, I promise. I've done this before. Oh, it's almost there. Oh, it's almost there. I promise it goes out. Oh, yeah, see, you can get it. And that's how you get it out. All right, well, the front's all apart. We got the links out of it, the springs out of it, all the steering is out of it. Everything is out of it. But we're gonna call it a night and get back after it in the morning. Good night.
Night.
Bright and early the next morning, look what showed up. Brand new 37-inch Nitto trail grapplers from, you guessed it, Northridge, because they're on top of stuff. So we're gonna put those on. Can't wait for those. And it's morning, which means we get to move on to the front end. So this morning we're gonna put all the rock crawler stuff on the front end. Pretty self-explanatory, just kind of goes right in there. Just make sure you got nothing binding up when you put the springs in. No stretch, no brake line stretch. And that's it. So we're just gonna get this front end put together real quick and go from there. Now it's time for my favorite part, installing these 8100s. These things are sick. I'm super jealous. Would love to have some on Phoebes. Maybe she'll get some, maybe she won't. But let's get to installing these fronts. All right, first things first, this is the lower bracket. It offsets the lower shock. It offsets the bottom of the shock because these bodies are so dang big because they're so awesome. So we have to offset the bottom. Let's get these installed. All right, doing the lowers, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Offsets the bracket to the wheel, obviously, because you can't offset that way because it hits the arm. Offset this way, gonna be the larger hole. Use the larger countersink, found the nut. Again, just snug, because you gotta leave this loose so that you can get all this stuff in here before you crank that down. Otherwise, you'll be fighting this hole. Now you just throw the shock in. That's easy. Now when you install the bottom, just get the reservoir out of the way real quick. This eyelet, if you'll notice, it's kind of offset. Offset it in like a such. So the eyelet is facing in. Gives you more clearance at the spring. And then we just go up. If you're in your driveway doing this, you just lower the jack or raise the jack, or depending on what you have jacked up. Put the bolt in. Make sure you put the spacer in. You don't want to crush it. Nut on the outside. Tighten it all up. The Bilstein shock is installed. Now we just have to do the reservoir. All right, and here is the install kit for the driver's side reservoir. The only difference between the driver's side and the passenger side is this bracket. That is the driver's side bracket. This is the passenger side one. I'll show you that in a minute. So it's got two of these little inserts in, which I'm not a huge fan of, but if you do it right, they work just fine. The trick is to not use an impact. Do not use an impact when you install these. You will rip them right out, or you'll snap a bolt, or you'll strip the threads out of the bolt. Like these things are finicky. And if you have, there is a tool out there for these, but the tool is very expensive for, you know, popping in a couple of inserts. I may get one someday because I use these a lot, but I have a pretty good method for them. So let's get these installed first. All right, so I marked the two holes you got to do. You have to do this top one. You have to put a rib nut in that, and then the hex nut in that. So what we're going to start with is the top one, this guy. This little guy right here. Rib nut, blind nut, whatever you want to call it. This is what's first. 1/4-20 and a washer. Then you have to take a 1/2-inch wrench. And then you take the flange nut, and no, this does not fit. Slides all the way up, and then you screw on your rib nut, and then you put it in a hole. You tighten the 7/16, and it will suck that nut and lock it in. So you hold this one in place. And that feels pretty tight. You just back it off. And remove the bolt. Now you have a nut cert. Do the same thing for the hex nut. You have to use a little bit bigger bolt because I think it's a little different. The instructions will tell you. Same order, hex nut, 9/16 nut, and then you're going to use a 1/2-inch wrench on the top. You want to hold this set up, stick it in the hole. I know, that's what she said. And that's about tight. Loosen the whole thing up. There you have it. And I have a hex nut in there and a rib nut in there. All right, now we assemble the actual bracket. So the smaller bolt was up top, the larger bolt was in the bottom, and it sat in there like this. So make sure you put the Bilstein on the right way. So it's gonna go on like this. You only need to put bolts on one side of this, otherwise you can't clamp it shut. Get around there good and tight. Okay, now that'll be in the truck like this. The bumper is here, and the back of the Jeep is this way. So when you put this guy in, make sure you put the adjustable side on the side that you can get the wrench on, because you can't get it up against the bumper to tighten this side. This is a little captured nut, 4mm bolt. It's ready to be installed. This is the tricky part though. So what they want you to do with this is they want you to put the lower bolt in so that you can twist it out of the way so that you can get the canister in it, tilt it up, and then put the top bolt in. Otherwise you can't really do it. So it's kind of a maze. The lower bolt in. Take your canister. I gotta get this top one in. It's like the hardest part. Besides these rib nuts, this is the hardest part. Come on, buddy, go in the hole. Come on, buddy. And it's it. I just gotta tighten them all up. Tight. So now, back to that little bracket. Now I gotta install this guy up here. Pretty easy. Shrink your fingers down and try to get it behind that spring. It's actually pretty easy. Tighten everything up. This is where we gotta put this P-clamp on the line and secure it to that bracket. And yeah, it goes inside this fender liner. These fender liners are coming out because we also have American Adventure Lab slim lights going in. So we're gonna take out all of this inner fender structure anyway. Let's get this clamp in. Voila, that's it. Not too tight. Like I said, we're gonna rip these out of here right now, but that's a Bilstein 8100 installed. I lied, it's not quite installed. We have to tighten up this guy. So the reservoir goes 40mm from the bottom. Just make sure she doesn't rub on that body mount and tighten that guy up. And that is one installed Bilstein 8100. God, these things are so sick. They're so beautiful. And they come with stickers, so you can put the stickers on there. You can orient them exactly how you want them. I don't know if I'd put any on here because it says Bilstein right there, but man, these things are sick. All you gotta do is repeat on the passenger side. It's just that this bracket is different, but the P-clamp just goes on there. Same. Sick. So I'm gonna get the other side installed. Ta-da! The other 8100 is in. Like I said, this is the only bracket that's different. It just doesn't go here. It hangs this P-clamp up here, sits up in here. It doesn't chafe on anything. It's a real nice setup, but it turns it in for the sway bar. The sway bar will come all the way up. So that's what this mount is for, so that it doesn't run into the sway bar. Pretty sweet setup. I really dig them. I'm really jealous, and I would like to have a set of these. These things are bad. Did I mention that they're bad? I really like them. I think they're sick. That's just me. All right, we got all the suspension in. All the shocks are in. All the arms are in and tight, except for front uppers and the track bar. You're not going to tighten those up until you get it on the ground at ride height. Then you're going to tighten down the front to upper control arms at the axle side. Once you get the Jeep back down on the ground so that it's a lot easier to get the track bar in. With that being said, on to the next install, which is this guy. The Apex power steering booster for the JLs and the JTs. It's pretty awesome. It makes a pretty big difference until you go to like a PSC big bore or something. It works really well, boosted pressure, and you can definitely notice a difference. Now, I gotta take that guy out, and I know I need to drill a hole right there in the frame, which means I have to take this reservoir off that I just put on. That's all right, it's only 2 bolts. I just have to loosen it up and get it out of the way and drill a hole. I also have to remove this winch, get it out of the way so that I can pull the grill off, because I know I have to cut out the low pressure power steering line because that gets a new one. And then the cooler actually mounts behind the winch. It's pretty straightforward install. It's just kind of time consuming. I have to take the air box out. You got to get into some stuff down there. You got to cut out all the low pressure line, then put it all back together. So let's get started on that. Success. Now to make it easier to get these lines out of here, because we got to cut these lines out, we're just going to pop this grill off because it's really not that hard. It's a couple of clips and it just pulls right off. Then we can get to all the lines and get them cut out. Voila. Now that we got the grill out of the way, we got to cut this line out. This is the low pressure line. We're going to cut it here. We're going to cut it here. We're going to unbolt it from here. It's the farthest one up. It's this guy right here, the one on the left, which is the one closest to the steering column. This is your low pressure line. I'll bolt that. Cut. I got to go in there and I pull it off the bottom of the reservoir. This step will also make a mess because you're going to cut these lines out. Fluid's going to come out. I'd suggest cutting right here first so that you can let all the fluid drain out. It'll be the easiest and the lowest, so you can get all the fluid out without making a complete mess. Once that's out, get your pipe cutter. We'll cut this guy. There she goes. I just cut the other side too. I bet you Chrysler could save about 20 pounds if they shortened all the bolts by like, I don't know, 12 millimeters or so, because they're all way too long. And the easiest way to get that guy is through the fender. You can easily get a wrench on it, pop it off, that'll be that. And then we get to yank this line out of there. And it's out. Now that other line kind of wraps up through here and goes up over. So you just got to take this line off of the bottom of the pump, which is right there. Next thing you got to do is they want you to drill a hole 1 inch up from the end of this bracket from this side, we want to drill a hole right here, 1/2 inch. So we got to drill a hole there and one on the other side, exactly same spot. All right, one of the only pieces you have to save is the fitting that goes to the steering box. And we have to cut that off. Just cut it off at the hose side and you'll add a union. So from here you can go rubber line to the cooler. It'll go across the Jeep to the other side of the cooler. And then you just run a rubber line from there to the bottom of the pump. So this is the only piece you got to keep just to do this. So don't destroy this piece when you pull it out. And after your holes are drilled, you just put the cooler together and bolt it into those holes. There she sits. Just like that. You do have to bend this down just enough to get the rubber to clear the bottom of the cooler. It's not that far. You just grab it with a crescent wrench. It does move pretty easily. You just gotta sweep it out of the way a little bit. And there it is. I just gotta put the other line back in it, hook up the rubber line to this side, hook up the rubber line from this to the back of the pump, and the Apex kit will be installed. And then we just have to put the bumper back together, put the winch back in it, and the grill. Well, my phone was on like 10% last night, but we got the Apex kit put in. I got the bumper put back on, and I took the fenders off because this morning we are going to strip these fenders. We're going to strip the liners out of these fenders and get those Highline lights put on from American Adventure Lab. There's the other one. I think the rock bouncer needs fenders. But while we get the shop heated up this morning, we're going to tear these apart and get these liners pulled out of these fenders. Once you get the corners out, this is my favorite part. You just peel this guy off. This whole plastic piece will peel off of here. You just gotta be careful not to pull it too hard or you'll wrinkle the paint on top, but it will separate. All right, so we got the front fenders installed. Liners are pulled out of them. Look at those things, they look sweet. So now we just gotta put the American Adventure Lab slimline lights in here. And then you gotta drill a hole right here and boop, put a little bolt there. Got the rears pulled out. The rears are actually much easier than the front. You don't even technically have to take the rear fender off. You just pop this one and this one. You cut a rivet that's on the inside of this bracket and then you just peel this guy right out. It comes right out. You don't even have to take the fender off. Pretty sweet. I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna pull this off the front bumper or off the rear bumper and call it a day. And you got this beauty over here. She's putting the TerraFlex rear tire carrier on. Doing a killer job.
Well, thank you.
Now it is time to install the American Adventure Lab slim lights. These things are pretty sweet. We got them on the Stepchild and a couple of other builds. Highline lights, excuse me, the American Adventure Lab Highline lights. Slim lights, they're pretty slim, but they're Highline lights. She told me so. Pretty easy to install, 2 bolts, one there, one there. Then you gotta drill your fender and put a bolt up here so that it doesn't do that. Let's get these guys installed. Pretty easy, they come with hardware. Come with a bag of hardware. All right, this part's pretty easy. You just set this guy up here on these 2 brackets. Oh, you gotta cut that guy off. Ta-da! Now it fits. Now you just gotta pop a hole right here, put a bolt in here, and done. Guess what? Yes. What do you bring me? Yes. Woohoo! You know what those are? The sliders that I've been waiting for to put on this JL. Sick. So we're gonna put back to work because she loves to weld. Oh, by the way, they're heavy. Sick. Also got some new Miller stuff today. See what they sent me. I got another face shield for Beck because I have one and now she has one. We got some gloves, another pack of gloves, work gloves. I got some tungsten so we can start TIG welding some stuff. We can get the TIG welder all set up. Sweet. I got some MIG gloves. Beck has a set of TIG gloves and they're really thin and I'm afraid she's gonna burn her fingers. So we got her some MIG gloves. Yeah, like I'm gonna use them all, but this is how they come in packs of 10, I guess. What else did we get? Oh, it's in this one. Oh, yes. These are slim respirators and they'll fit under your welding hood. These are sweet LPR 100s. So if you're MIG welding all day, you do get fumes. And I notice it. If I weld all day, I can definitely notice the fumes in my face. And you know, you feel congested that night, but this will help Beck and myself when we're welding all day because this is specially designed to fit underneath your welding hood. So you can weld all day and have a respirator. And you can grind with them and stuff. They'll fit under the face shield. You don't have to smell all that dust, all that metal shavings and paint and all that other stuff that we grind off. So these are super cool. She's gonna use this today. I'm super excited it showed up today. Make sure you check out millerwelds.com for all their products, all their safety equipment, gloves, machines, hoods, anything you need. And if you're in the southern Utah area, you can get all their products at Scholson's. They have a spot in Hurricane and a spot in St. George. Make sure you check out Scholson's products because I can say it. They help support us. We just want you guys to support them too. Scholson's products, check them out.
These are Next Venture welded on rock sliders. These things look amazing. They are made out of 2-inch quarter wall DOM tubing, and then you have quarter thick plate everywhere. If you're going for something that is extremely beefy, these are the ones to go for. Now we're gonna show you how to install these step by step. First thing you have to do is take off your stock sliders. Are these sliders? They don't really work, right?
They don't really work well.
Well, these babies are coming off.
And then you do the same to the other side. Sometimes if you bend them, it's really hard to get them off. Crap. So it looks like it's taking a good hit right here and it's locked this up into this fender. Oh yeah, like he's definitely ran that across something. I have to try to pry this thing off. Oh, crap.
Hopefully you guys can see this okay, but this is a pinch weld and we need to mark where it's at so that way we can cut it so this can slide up and allow this to be seated fully. So it'll come up and rest really nice and easy. And then also we're gonna go ahead and paint mark where this sits so we can prep for welding. Now that we have everything marked off, we can take it off and then repeat on the other side. Now you take a 3/16 bit and you go up a 1/2 inch from your mark. That way you can drill out a hole for your gusset. And then you're gonna run it out to a 1/2 inch hole, and I prefer a step bit. And you're gonna wanna do this to the rest of the marks. Now we're just gonna cut this and get some of the excess metal off. This is very important, guys. You have to remove this bolt, take it out and flip it and put it reverse and put a nut on the end of it. And that is because once you weld on these sliders, you will not be able to take the bolt out the way it sits right now. So you take the supply bolt and you're gonna run it in from the back. Okay, and then you'll repeat on the other side. Now that we have these notched, we're going to hit it with some clear coat just to prevent rust. All right, now we are going to grind and prep for weld. For those of you that want to paint these, you obviously have to paint the underside first because once you have them welded on, you can't. So we're gonna go ahead and paint the inside of these black. Alrighty guys, now that the back side of these sliders are painted, we're gonna go ahead and weld them on. So now that this is fitted on there, we're gonna go ahead and weld it. Before I do that, I wanna point out to you guys that these 3 contact points need to be sitting flat onto the frame. And you already know how much I love this Miller-Matic, so we're gonna get started. Baby is welded up now, so I'm gonna do the same to the other side.
So while Beck's over there doing her thing, getting those sliders all welded up, I have a job to do. I'm gonna get these 37-inch trail grapplers mounted on the stock wheels. Yes, they're going on the stock wheels, but it's only for a little bit until the real wheels get here. We ordered bead locks, they're not gonna make it in time. We're gonna throw these 37s on here just for a little bit, just for like a month or 2. She's so great. God, she's so good at that.
All we have to do is paint it, and that is how you install Next Venture rock sliders. So when you're done, it should look a little something like this. I honestly thought this was a really fun install. The only thing I would recommend is that you have a buddy because these are some big boys.
So Ryder, you like it?
It's fucking great. I can't wait to drive it.
Awesome. So if you want to learn more about this Jeep, they have a rev kit. It's Bebop the Jeep, all one word. Make sure you check them out. And that's all we got on this build. He's gonna come back in a couple of months and get some more upgrades, so watch out for this Jeep. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. Remember you can like and share, and you can get all of your Lite Brite Studios merch and decals
at litebritstudios.com.
Thanks for watching. Bye guys.
See ya.
We'll just let this run for a minute. How do they do that? I don't even know. Okay,
Wait.
she's not ready.
No, we're gonna cut that. Let's
She's welded up now.
we just keep going. We just keep going. We just go.
Come on, focus, buddy. Focus. So we got the back.
Oh boy, yeah, we sound great, don't we?
But guess what? Oh,
Man, this looks terrible.